All right. Hello, everybody. It's Coach Mike McKay. I'm excited to have with me today Roy from the PartsBadger. And Roy shared with me that he races, but he didn't really share a whole bunch about it. I'm going to ask him a question about that because, if for no other reason, I think that's cool. And I'm the guy doing the interviewing. So, welcome aboard, Roy. Thanks
Yeah,
for
thanks,
joining
Mike.
us.
Yeah,
How
great
about-
to be here. I appreciate it.
Give us a little bit about your background, your story, where were you born, why you decided to start Parts Badger, and then we're going to
Yeah,
talk about racing.
absolutely. So, born Wisconsinite. I grew up in the Waukesha area. Then I moved up to central Wisconsin, lived on a farm through probably what you'd call like your formative years, the early teens, middle school through high school. Then went back down to the Milwaukee area for college. Did undergrad
Okay.
at UWM, and then yeah, started business after I graduated there.
Why did you start Parts Badger right away after you graduated, or?
Yeah, so it's funny that you bring up racing because probably my entire career is because of racing. So when I was when I as soon as I got my license, I wanted to race cars. So at the time, I was doing parking lot cone racing, really like that. I wanted to get into real racing, but real racing takes a lot of money. And as a college kid, especially a college kid that grew up on a farm, it's not like my family had a lot of money. I didn't have a lot of money. And the only way to make enough while in college is really to start a business. So I started my journey as an entrepreneur
Well,
in
I'm gonna
college.
let me stop you right there. I
Mhm.
love that comment because we work in the business world too, and my background was in big business, and I had no idea. And if you're listening to this and watching this, and you have a job somewhere, and you're thinking about the entrepreneur world, listen to this. The only way to make big money is to get into business, and it's amazing how much more both fun running your own company is, and how much lucrative it is. So I just had to stop you on that. That's a
Yeah.
misunderstanding people have, and so sorry to interrupt, but continue, Roy.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, absolutely. So, as a 19-year-old, needed to make enough money to pay for racing. So I started salvaging Miatas. So Mazda Miatas, I'd take them apart, I'd sell the parts, hopefully for more than I paid for the car, and then do it over and over again. And then that paid for a couple seasons of racing. And that was kind of my first taste of business. Um, after that, while I was racing, I actually started to get into cameras in race cars, and I met my first business partner. So we would back then we actually had camcorders. So they
Yeah,
weren't
right.
digital, but they were camcorders, and we'd have these little cameras that we'd plug into the camcorder so you could actually record your race. Um, so right
Oh,
after
that's cool.
college, I ended up, yeah, working on that and running a company selling cameras for race cars. That eventually pivoted into cameras in aviation, so for general aviation and then helicopters. Um, and as most businesses do, it's kind of an odd journey. So from that, we needed to buy parts for our at that time we were actually making recorders. So we needed to buy parts for the recorders. Those parts needed to be machined. And I found that to be an incredibly difficult process to buy parts. I thought the process should be much simpler. And that's really where we started off PartsBadger. And that was in 2016.
And are you like machining, hardcore actual machining parts, making them for people?
Part of what we do, yeah. So initially, the concept for the company, we didn't have any manufacturing capacity. We worked
Okay.
through a network. So we've set up a network of manufacturers. Now we're in China, Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam. We have many in the United States, and then in this facility behind me, we have 15,000 square feet. We have several millions of dollars of equipment, and we do in-house manufacturing as well. But it started through a network, and then we just built up. What we really see is we just want to connect the manufacturing capacity that makes the most sense to the innovators, whether those be engineers or people in supply chain, buyers. We
Yep.
want to expedite the connection of that process. In some cases, it makes sense that we make the parts. In some cases, it makes sense that one of our partners does.
You do like prototyping work or not prototyping?
Yes,
You
we
do?
do a little bit of everything. So
Okay.
One of the reasons why we had such a hard time buying parts was because the market is very fragmented. So you're going to find shops that are prototype shops, shops that are production shops, shops that only work in aerospace, shops that work in oil and gas, and they're all small. So if you want to buy parts and you want to buy a suite of parts, it's very difficult to get those from one manufacturer. So that's what we're trying to solve. So we'll take pretty much everything. We have pretty much infinite capacity as far as what we could take on in our network, including our own manufacturing. So if it's a prototype or if it's production, regardless of industry, we're probably going to be able to make that part.
That's awesome. We coach Napa, the company that owns Napa Auto Parts, and they pride themselves on the long tail and parts being around for a long time, but they also outsource a lot to custom shops because some stuff just is not made anymore. And the ability for, somebody like you all to come in and do some custom work is awesome. So, so you've answered half of the questions on the list already, but tell me a little bit more. One of the racing comments that you brought up was endurance racing, and that some people from the company participate on your team.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of great series out there now to do road racing at tracks like Road America. Watkins Glen is a pretty famous one, Sebring down in Florida. So what we do, we're part of this group. We have a team. We call it Team PartsBadger. We have a car, and employees help out. They either crew. We have some that drive as well. And we participate in races between 7 and 24 hours long. Usually we're racing against, 40, or actually the last race I was at, we're racing against 85 other cars over the course of 7 hours. And, it takes a lot of teamwork to put that together. And as a driver, you get a lot of seat time, which is a lot of fun. But we do driver changes, we do pit stops. There's a lot of strategy, and then obviously a lot of mechanical work on the car. And the series allows development on the car too. So it kind of utilizes all of these different skill sets. So it's a lot of fun.
So is that like part of your unique hiring sauce that you guys get to socialize together as well, or is it just kind of a natural outcome of what you do?
Yeah, so we have a saying. It's not within our formal values or hiring process, but we say PartsBadger, the place for cat people, car people, and all around audacious mofos. So I don't know if I can say that on this channel, but we actually have a shirt. Yeah, we have a shirt that says that. I think that's our informal culture. Just a lot of car people, but generally we're looking for people that are team players, people that understand that mistakes are normal. They're willing to accept responsibility of their mistakes, work as a team. And those individuals really thrive in the culture here. And yeah, that definitely translates over to racing.
Yeah. You're going to be the top interview because that's another thing that we talk with people a lot. Right? One is you make more money if you run your company. The other is culture. And again, if you're listening and you have hiring issues, or if you have challenges with people, the number one way to get past that is to have an attractive place to work. And the attractive place to work is generally a lot more about what kind of culture you have to offer.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And if I could just kind of dive into that point. So, what we really found in developing the culture and what I kind of saw is that's different than some other places where, other people may have worked before and they come here and it's so different. The number one thing we teach all of our managers in management training is your first job is to actually care, to actually give a, about your people. You need to actually care about who they are, what they're going through, what they're trying to achieve. And until you do that, you can't manage. From there, once you have that foundation of caring, which we have bi-weekly one-on-ones, so everybody gets to really know each other really well. We make sure that people are taken care of at home, people's lives. If they got a sick kid, they're not going to be able to put in their best work. If they have a housing situation that's unstable, that's going to affect their work. So you as a manager need to help facilitate to make sure they're poised to achieve their best work. And then from that, we really build up the culture from there. But it really starts from that place of caring. And if you want to retain people, that's a good way to do it.
I mean, just the fact that you do management training is mind-blowing compared to most companies that are out there. Where did you come up with the philosophy that you just it's directly aligned with the way we look at the world? We think only small business cares about the communities that they're in. So that's the people that we work with too. But
Mhm.
did somebody push you along that path? Did you just naturally grow up on you got to care to be a leader? Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, so to be honest, I love business as a science. Me and at the time, one of our first employees, we worked together on really researching and trying to understand what is the essence of motivation. And we really started at Maslow, hierarchy of needs, and then it went to McClellan and Aldoffer, and then Ryan and DC, and then from that we kind of build up this philosophy of intrinsic motivation. And I think you see that a lot in management philosophy from like Andy Grove at Intel really spun off a lot of management work into Google and then Facebook with OKRs. But a key part of that was this one-on-one. And the key
Hmm.
part of that was like actually caring and meeting with them and seeing. So you kept seeing this in successful businesses, that successful businesses know their people, they care about their people, and make sure that they're intrinsically motivated. So we just built our system around that and said, look, how do we create intrinsically motivated people? And it's people that are taken care of, from a hygiene perspective, safety, security, home situation, financial.
Sure.
After that, do they feel like they're part of the group? Do you give them the autonomy to do what they're competent in? And do you make sure you're reinforcing that with praise and that you have fairness in your culture? And if you do all of these, you have intrinsically motivated individuals. And that's kind of what I was seeing reflected all around. So we built everything up from there.
Is there somebody who was like a key influence on you other than all the authorship that you went through? I mean, it's like a murderer's row of leadership. And I'm telling you, this is our living. Most people will not do that. Most people won't put that effort into it. So
Yeah,
amazing.
and for me, my passion is racing, but like I said, I really like business as a science too. So for me, I get my kicks off reading, learning new things, and really experimenting. But people along the way, honestly, there's like so many, it's hard to mention. But I think I
Mhm.
really started with the Scale Up Milwaukee program. Elmer Moore, I believe, was running that program at the time. And he really opened my eyes to, at the time, I didn't think I could manage. I didn't think I would be a good manager. And he really said, like, look, maybe you do have this. Maybe you could figure this out and you can learn this. And then that really opened my eyes to, hey, I can learn to be a good manager and I can figure this out. And then the same energy I put into starting the business, it got put into how do I become a good manager? And then how do I distill that into the culture and the team? So I'd say he's part of that. I've been part of MMAC and their roundtables. That's been super helpful. Lately, venture mentoring services, which Chris Abley's group had that program come in. We've been in that for about a year and a half. And then, I mean, really the team we brought through. So it's just been a number
Yeah.
of influence throughout the community.
Yeah. I mean, I like the science based. For us, one of the things is what's your hypothesis? If you're going to do that in your business, what is the actual hypothesis? And do we have the right testing plan in place so that you know if it's going to work? And do you have the
Yep.
milestones and stick to itiveness to do something for 90 days to see if it's actually working or not?
Yeah, for
So
sure.
that's all awesome. So what's the next big thing for you and your organization?
Yeah. So probably my word for that is audacity. So when starting the company, it was very audacious.
Audacious mofos, right?
Yep. Yeah. So we started the company in a very audacious way, and we've grown the company in a very audacious way. And now we're really set up. We have a great team in place. We have the financial means. We have all the pieces that, we want to fundamentally change manufacturing. So I think we're 21 months into a software development project where, we're deploying things on the shop floor to basically automate quantity one. So in manufacturing, robots have existed from, the
Right.
80s,
Yep.
to automate large quantities, but that's not really where the consumer is headed. And that's not where innovation is headed. You need to be more responsive and do smaller batches. So we really want to automate quantity one. So we've been investing a significant amount of resources in that. And we believe some of the things that we're doing will not only fundamentally change the cost of parts because of the amount of labor that's going to be injected will be substantially less, but we can also do same to 7 day turn times. which is kind of unheard of in this industry. So I'm really excited about that. So that's what's to come. We've tested the program a little bit, and we're about to go live on that shortly here.
Sweet. So here's the surprise question for you, but I
Okay.
never tell anybody I'm going to ask this. Is there something you wish I would have asked you to talk about?
Yeah, I think, you know, and you said some questions beforehand, hey, I might talk about this or that. And I think, you know, if this is for the budding entrepreneur, the individual that is thinking about starting a business, you know, how do you get started? You know, what should you focus on? And what I want to say is that there is a big difference between 0 to 1, 1 to 10, and then 10 plus, for whatever scale you want that to be. Let's say it's employees, let's say it's millions of revenue.
Got
But
it.
when you're starting a business from that 0 to 1 phase, I would say be audacious. And like you said with the testing, run a lot of experiments. So run dozens of experiments a day if you can, and really try to be lean. A great book is Lean Startup by Eric Ries.
Yep.
But anything you can do to really rapidly test, because even when we started PartsBadger, I thought the business was going to be completely different from what it became.
Sure.
But we ran a lot of tests, and we really found out where the market was. We found out how to grow. Which I put together a little business plan, the company ended up looking nothing like the business plan.
Yeah.
You know, business plans are really good for banks. They're not good for running a business, in my opinion, especially 0 to 1. So that's what I would say. If you're thinking about making the leap and doing it, just be prepared to test a lot of things and be prepared to be excited and have fun, and you know, not worry about everything being perfect. Just try, and be audacious.
Yeah. Awesome. I really appreciate the time, Roy. Roy Dietsch from the PartsBadger. You're the most, I wish everybody could think like you and think about people and about the science of business, that, you know, business is an entity of its own. Once you get more than a couple, 3 people there, it's just trying to do its job for you. And just super exciting to hear somebody else working in that model of develop, take care of the people. So really
Absolutely.
appreciate your time. Thanks
Yeah,
for
thanks,
being part
Mike.
of the program.
Appreciate the opportunity.